In a world beyond, time stands still. We dive into the vacant wave, a nostalgic thrill. Text and legacy, journey of the mind. The infinite loops, we leave our worries behind. Our worries behind.
Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Depends on where you are in this world or when you'll be watching this video. Welcome to the final episode, believe it or not. This is a series finale of discussion on Babylon 5. 21 episodes of just talking about Babylon 5, and there was a lot to talk about. And of course, the stalwarts who were joining me for this journey, of course, have been Mike, Doc Pop Mike himself from Pacific 414.
You see my face, Baron. I am not a happy Centauri.
No, you're not.
This is the last show, and I am not a very happy Centauri right now.
Not at all.
Even Chinkara is not happy. Look at him. Look at that face.
Is he ever happy? Which, of course, does bring us down to Chinkar himself. From the Phantom Hooligans, Cash Monet 007.
No, we're at the end of this thing, so it's pretty crazy.
Well, a long, strange trip it has been. And then beneath me here, folks, everybody's favorite troll, which is why I can't. The only reason why we have him here is because he's our favorite one, Mr. Philip J. McCracken of Release. McCracken. Hello, Phil.
You know, true baseball fans are American League baseball fans. That's why.
Oops.
It's going to be one of those streams. He can't.
Yeah. Who put a quarter in him? Who put a quarter in him? And of course, I just want to welcome everyone's favorite penguin besides Punk Waddle, who popped up in the chat. Low Spec Linux Laptop, welcome to the show. Okay, Phil, we'll bring you back in. Time to behave. Take your
Do we have to? Do we have to?
I'm glad National League now has DH.
Come on. Quit poking the bear.
I'm really happy.
I know. You're always happy at people's misery. But we'll be discussing the last 3 episodes of Babylon 5. Basically, I almost look at it as 3 episodes of saying goodbye, because that's basically what this is.
Yep,
And
it is.
Upon rewatching it the other day, I was just it just flew by. It's like, okay, I'm just going to watch 2 episodes, and I'll watch Sleep in the Light tomorrow, or when I was watching it, and I just kept on going. Boom! It's like, oh, this is over with already. Okay, go to the next. Oh, that's over with. Okay, let's finish her up, because I was just so wrapped up, even knowing the end.
Not only that, Baron, you have the 3 episodes, then you watch The Road Home right afterwards. And how everything that we saw from season 1 to season 5 ties into The Road Home. Because it has callbacks to different episodes, different events throughout the 5 seasons. And, that's how you do it. You watch all 5 seasons, then you watch The Road Home.
And that's just it. He showed us how to do a quote unquote time travel / alternate universe story.
Quality one
That
too. Yes.
yeah, that with all this, alternate universe stuff being overused, and you get fearful when you hear that's going to be used Babylon 5, but you just got to put faith in JMS. I don't know if my apologies. I don't think he's even watching or cares, but in case he does, my apologies to JMS, though. I don't have enough faith to see the show come back as a reboot.
No,
because what I've seen here is just too beautiful.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
I know certain things didn't necessarily go the way he did, but I think some of it worked out for the better. Some of it not necessarily. And the most important thing is
Grade 17 is missing comes to mind.
There we go. And really, with this last season, as much as it gets trashed on, it's really a small segment, really, that what I would call problematic, and that was the Byron. But there was so much that was going on in it that you shouldn't be blinded by that. You had a view from the gallery where you're watching two men that work on the station, watching everything going around and experiencing as a schlub on Babylon 5 what day-to-day life was, right? You had the Day of the Dead, which was the only episode not written by JMS in these mini seasons, by Neil Gaiman, posting about, what about, death, life in Zudi Aribo, Zudi. And now we're seeing the tragedy of Malari, and that's why we said we have a warning, spoilers, because this is going to be spoilers. And it does leave with, there's more stories to tell in this universe. We ain't seen it all. And
Which we did get some of those stories in Crusade, but unfortunately, with legal rights, JMS can't continue those stories.
Which I'm suspecting might be the problem with the Blu-rays for the movies, because the one movie is technically the lead-in to Babylon 5. That is The Call to Arms. But every project on Babylon 5, except for that one I just said here, A Call to Arms in the Crusade series, all the music was done by Christopher Frank. And except for the original pilot, which was Stuart Copeland of The Police, I believe, he was with The Police. And I'd like to get that soundtrack because it's different. It's different from the rest of the show. And I don't blame GMS going the direction he did with Christopher Frank, but I wouldn't sniff too much at Stuart Copeland with what he did with that first movie. So, I suppose I should bring up the pictures, huh? Any other thoughts before we really get into the show?
They don't make TV shows like this anymore.
No,
They
they
really
just look. It's like you got the family aspect. You got a lot of things going on with this show and so on. If we had, I don't know, I would love sci-fi or just other stuff to follow certain patterns, certain formulas again with thing. But people don't care about a lot of this stuff anymore. It's their narcissism, as we've talked about. So
And here's another great thing about this series. J. Michael Straczynski, an atheist, was able to put his own personal beliefs aside and show that people of all different religions and backgrounds were able to work together on Babylon 5.
He created Space Jesus.
Well, the close one you would say about that would be Valen being Sinclair.
Yeah. Yeah, Sinclair being sent back in time with Babylon 4 and helping the Minbari.
Setting up the Rangers and, basically being the Messiah for the Minbari people. And that was one of the things that went wrong with Babylon 5 that made it better, because of how he wished that he could keep Sinclair through the whole show, but unfortunately Michael O'Hare had his issues and they had to replace the character. And when the episode of War Without End came about, it was just going to be the guest star of the week that came on board to become Valen, which didn't really have anything invested with us. It was kind of that way. But what a brilliant thought of setting a character off and giving Michael O'Hara one last chance. Boom. And that was emotionally invested because we've already seen this man. We know this man. And now he's gone back in time. And we will not see this man again.
Never again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's one of the things right there where you got count your blessings that sometimes, when you have bad things happen, you can actually make it better.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure JMS was thinking, okay, what do I do now? Well, he managed to recover. Instead of looking at the glass half empty, he looked at his half full. Okay, I have this situation. Let's create a new character and take the story in this direction.
Mm-hmm. And even with the pilot, a lot of people from the pilot didn't return. Some wanted to, but were unable to, like Patricia Tallman. She was more than happy to want to come back, but she had several issues, especially when you had a year between the movie and the TV series. So now you're bringing in a new, lieutenant commander, Ivanova, that turns out to be even better than he had before. Very lively. You had Franklin come in, but that had that level of, I don't know, there's just soul about him. And then, of course, you had the others that came in, like Lanier and Veer, being the attaches to their various ambassadors. And then the people that came along, you had Talia Winters, but then when she left, he was able to use that to advantage to bring Patricia Tallman back. It still screwed up the story, but he was able to recover, you might say. So, yeah, it's just amazing. All the things that could and some of the things that did go wrong, he was still able to pull this off. So, my hat's off to Mr. G. Michael Zazinski. He's a brilliant storyteller even today. And he may have a message in his stories, but he sure as hell not woke and not preaching. And that's the important thing.
Yes.
I give him credit for being from the get-go behind the 8 ball, where his situation shouldn't have been behind the 8 ball. It shouldn't be. It should have been agreed that with some of us that this was supposed to be from the get-go Deep Space Nine in a sense. And for him to have to take the show and rather than see it just drift to nothingness, reimagined it in a true reimagining way, not like you would say, and I will say, like Battlestar Galactica. He truly took his work, reimagined it, and created a whole new world, as opposed to the original plan of being part of an existing world.
Yeah, and one of the things he was able to do with Babylon 5 is tell stories that Star Trek would either barely touch or not touch at all.
I agree with that.
Yeah, they didn't want to touch it because, I
wasn't going to say this for the end, but I have to say this. Everybody knows people that's seen season 5, quote unquote, this is not as good as the first 4 series.
First 4 seasons, yeah. No, I agree.
So, there's reasons for that, and a lot we have talked previously about. But I want to say this, we all can agree. Even if you think season 5 is 75% of what Babylon season 1 through 4 was, it's sure to hell better than anything you can put on TV today.
A lot of it, yes. There's a few quality things, but not as much.
Right.
I agree.
And this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of the hate towards season 5 is overblown because you can't find quality episodes in season 5.
Of course.
I do like the Space Jesus arc. I know Cash Money hated that with the
It's
passion.
it's not my favorite. No, I just
I do like it was something different. And we got, even though you might not like it or agree with it or say, yeah, they could have did without, I did like the twist. First you're seeing somebody just like a typical religious person or a cultist, if you want to call them that, trying to be emulation of everything good. Towards the end there, you got Space Jesus being, vindictive, manipulative, and let's say more human. So I did like that, but that's just me,
Deep down, we're also humans. It doesn't matter if we have those powers or not.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say that for the end, but I thought it was important to say it now. So
Sure.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, we would never stop you, Mr. McCracken, honestly, because we would never hear the end of it. So,
gosh,
the first episode. So, the first episode is, of course, Objects in Motion. It was, of course, written by Straczynski, as were all these episodes, but the story was also helped by Harlan Ellison himself. So, and Jesus Trevino was, of course, the long-term director of the show. He's been on so many. And these stories actually are pretty simple in plot. They're not complex because they don't need to be complex. This is a goodbye. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing the first batch go. And we're also seeing some newcomers arrive. And, of course, Lise is still on the station with Garibaldi. We learn that a Tessa Halloran came on board the station. They don't want to recognize her Mars visa because they're Earth-centric. Stefan vouches for her because that's number one from the Mars Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And she is coming to warn Garibaldi and Lise that there is a hitman out to take them out. And, basically all this corporate war, Edgar Industry being one of the top important companies on Mars. And so they're trying to figure out how to take care of this. And of course, we're also following the assassin himself and how he's setting things up. One of the things is he replaces the comm after he murders one of the security, manages to switch out a comm with a fake one. And so he can try to get into this access into the system. Obviously, this man has got hacking skills. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, he's trying to get himself set up at the Jakar's farewell. It's like, goodbye, Jakar. And of course, Garibaldi as well. It's like, we can't forget Garibaldi. And he's out there in the public to help stop this. But problems happened when one of the followers of Jakar, the man who was making all those pretty statues of him, and felt slighted by him, decides to try to take out Jakar because he's disenfranchised, causing a disturbance. They manage to get the assassin. They get him thrown into the cell, and I have no idea what they did with the Narn and such. And so we got that all left going on there. Well, Garibaldi figures I don't have anybody, right? I mean, I'm not adhering to Earth Force or Babylon 5 or the Interstellar Alliance. I am my own man now, which means I can do what I want. He takes the assassin down to the cells where good old Lita, she's still pretty, is, and he says he wants her to dig in because he wants to know who sent him. And she keeps on saying this is not going to be admissible in court, and keeps on saying, he says, I don't care. This is not the case. I want to know who sent him. Using her powers, she does something that was used in one of the books by a man named Alfred Bester, of all people, and that was The Demolished Man, where he's, even though he's not a telepath, he's doing things in his mind to try to keep the telepath from breaking that barrier, singing songs, doing math, all that. He finally sets up. She gets in there and finds out that it's the board of directors of Edgar Industries. They're scared, especially with their black projects, and they're the ones that got sent that way. So, okay, so we have everything leading up to that. Any gentlemen want to make a comment or observation about that leading up? I hear crickets. Okay, so I'll continue on then. And I know you, Crash. You don't like to talk. You just sit there. I know. But
no, I mean, you covered a lot of it, Baron. I mean, it's.
Well, I'm trying not to.
I know, but we're. I'm sure we're okay with letting you talk as well. It's not a problem, man. But you are the host. But I know you want us to talk. But I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, the whole thing with Jakar, this Narn felt slighted. And unfortunately, these are things that can actually happen in real life. That's one of the reasons I like Babylon 5 is so much. I like the show so much is because these things can actually happen in real life. So we've got that situation, and then it's like, oh, you want to play games with Garibaldi? That's a bad idea. And so, of course, what happens to the board? They all deserve it. And thank gosh for Lita but of course, Garibaldi says the deal is off. You don't do this for me. The deal is off. I really like that scene. Seeing it again.
That was a good scene between the two of them.
Yep. And Lita's like, crap. Like I have all these powers, but Garibaldi at this point holds some kind of power over me. And I'm sure other people would say, oh, no, I'm not even going to go there. Forget it. But, but yeah, it's very good. And so, of course, that man who, wanted to take out Garibaldi was hired by the board. The board, needs to get rid of Garibaldi because he's a loose cannon and whatever. So we'll do what we can to get rid of him. I don't think they probably wanted Lee's shot, but I don't know if they cared all that much anyway.
Oh, they said both of them. They wanted both because they wanted
to. Yeah.
No.
I was just going to bring that up. Both of them were on their hit list.
So, and Garibaldi, with his ability to hunt stuff down and get into the crux of things, he was a danger. Yeah, he already caused issues for industries.
Right. Yes, he did. So, but they thought they're holding once again all the cards, and it's like, oh, we got this. We're sorry, and no, go screw off. Like you're gonna get what's coming to you, and here, please have your resignations. Excuse me, out there and go away. Shoo.
Right, and and of course, what helps that is he says he's got a $500 or credit. Check going to be put in a safe spot. If anything happens to him or Lise, other than old age, that's going to be $100,000 on each one of your heads, and they're going to be coming the gun for you. So you're going to ensure that we're going to have a nice long life, aren't you? And it doesn't help that that number one's there, and our dollar store Sebastian Cabot is basically craps himself because he knows it's. He knows this is it. They're screwed.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna have to put those cigars out and get out.
Right, you keep those cigars behind for Garibaldi. He wants those cigars. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think even Lita knows that as angry as Garibaldi and what the situation was, she knew he was serious. He never BS'd with her, but the fact that someone shot his his then fiance.
Yes.
But between that and this meeting, they got married. Now, she belongs to the First Baptist Church of Mars, so she's a Calvinist.
Yeah. Even though she's really powerful, it's like she needs this deal to succeed, so she can take out the Psychor. She needs this deal. So Garibaldi is basically her only hope.
Exactly, and. If Garibaldi can't do it, nobody can type of situation. So I think Garibaldi came ahead, especially with that box of cigars.
Yes.
And all these losers, well, they lost their job. And, Garibaldi's now married to Lise, and now it's their turn to leave the station. And they do so to basically a new life, you might say, new/old life. After all the ups and downs and turmoil, especially in Garibaldi's life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about just the last 5 years or 6 years.
Well, even Leeds brings up the fact that they've gotten together, they've broken up, they've gotten together again, broken up, but they feel that their marriage will work.
Yep. They both come to that point in their lives where they understand now. And it took that long, but now they understand. And it's great seeing a feisty Garibaldi again like that, and of course, the heartfelt goodbye between him and Sheridan as they're leaving.
Yes.
You can tell they're friends. On and offset, they're friends. But here, Garibaldi's leaving. It's the sign. So, any other thoughts on this particular little adventure that we had on Mars with her goodbye?
Well, I certainly liked when Jakar broke the statue. It's like you need to stop. You need to stop and stop thinking I'm your God or your savior or whatever.
Your prophet, whatever it is. I just wrote a book. That's all.
That's right. I want
Jakar's
people
a
to
simple
know.
Man.
Exactly. I want people to know about the Narn history. That's all he wanted.
Right. And his thoughts, his memoirs, his meditations, you might say, like Marcus Aurelius. And and the thing is, it wasn't even done. They took it because they thought he was dead and printed it. So we got that with that goodbye there. And it leads, being that you brought up Jakar, it leads up to Jakar and Lita.
Yes.
It's time for them to go. Jakar found a nice starship with I can't remember how many, only so many million light years on the clock on it, which was kind of humorous. But it looks like it might be something of Minbari design. And Lita's still not really fully convinced that, she's just assuming he wants her for DNA, not because he really wants a traveling companion and he's trying to help her. But which is the case. I mean, he needs to go, she needs to go. Why not together and explore things? So after getting a good deal from Uncle Minbar's used starship lot, they proceed to go. And one of the things is each time people are going, it's that same going down that path, that bridge to where the ships are waiting. And as he's going across with Lita, we see Zach kind of in the shadows watching as they leave. Because, that's his, unrequited love. He cares about her, and now she's going. And he feels, and probably rightly so, that he lost his chance forever with her.
Yeah, and I think, you could look at that scene many different ways. Could he have had Zach talk to her? Sure, but it's also very effective for him to just look at her and just see her walking with Jakar and say.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of powerful. I mean,
it's another situation where less is more.
Right. You tell the story by expression, body language, all that, not with words.
Right.
And of course, the one thing that Lita did to freak everybody else is when Jakar asked for the clamps to be let go, she did it herself, and I could do it anytime. I just want to have a little fun, mess with people.
Right.
So, of course, they go, and then we have, of course, Franklin. It's his turn to go, and of course he does recommend the one lady in Med Lab to take over for him, and she's more than happy to. She has doubts though, because she doesn't think she's qualified enough, because these people know this people. It's like, no, I need a generalist, not a specialist. That's what's important about this job. of course, she accepts and she goes on her way with that. And basically newly promoted. So that's what we're kind of looking at with everyone leaving.
Yeah.
The station. The station is really becoming empty on this. Completely empty. And actually that happens in the next episode. I did jump ahead. But with Dr. Hobbs taking over. But like I said, these just seem like one continuous episode. So it's hard for me to think otherwise.
They really did.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well call it part 1 and part 2.
Yeah. Exactly. But really, honestly, in a nutshell, this is it. That's the episode. It's nothing flashy, a little bit of excitement, but still, it's more of that drama in the goodbyes, especially for a show they didn't think would make it this long. And a cast that worked together for all these years and put up with a lot of stuff, and the characters that they had to put up. Every time you see someone walking over that bridge, it's like your heart tugs a little bit more. And it's like everyone's going. It would have been great to have seen a Star Trek episode kind of end this way.
Yeah.
Like even the original series on Enterprise comes back and everybody's going their way. Which, of course, Star Trek Continues tried to do with their fan film.
I got to watch that sometime.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
I highly recommend Continues.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear from you and some other people. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, there's a beautiful Lita in Jakar with that magnificent chin, but you can't see it because he's got it back to you. Really, any other thoughts on this particular episode? Because again, this is like I said, like Mike says, part 1, part 2, almost.
Honestly, it's sad to see these characters go.
Mm-hmm.
You've been with them on this journey for so long. You hate to see them leave.
Mm-hmm.
But like life, we all move on to different adventures, different chapters in our life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's just it. It's not necessarily because of mouth or anything. It's just like it's time to move. Time to move along. And that's the big thing. Just like anything else, there's chapters in everybody's life, and this is a chapter that's ending here. You mean? Okay. Well, I suppose might as well just go into the next episode. Because like I said, it is basically part 1, part 2, like Mike said. It's Objects at Rest. I mean, just the names of the episode, Objects in Motion and Objects at Rest. And basically, this is where the Interstellar Alliance is moving now. It is officially going to Membar. Lanier comes back to help Delenn finish up their packing so they can get going on board one of the White Stars and get over there. Franklin, of course, settles his problem, not problems, but making sure everything good, and has Dr. Hobbs placed in charge of the mid bay. Over talks with between, of course, Sheridan and Delenn and the others. Number 1 becomes basically the new Garibaldi, head of intelligence, and figures the best place for her to be is on Babylon 5 because that's where everything seems to happen. That's where you can have your ear to the ground. We have, of course, Talon coming aboard looking for Jakar. We did see Jakar start trying to do a message in the previous episode. We don't know what it was until now. He's in front of good old Jakar's cabin. And Vera lets him know, it's like, no, he's gone. He's not coming back. He's gone. Excuse me. And he managed to break into the cabin, and it recognizes that's him, and it says there's a message. And basically, it's his goodbye message. You can see the image here of that. And he's telling Talon he wants him to take over his spot on Babylon 5 because of his courage. And, that he still has a warrior spirit in him, while he himself doesn't have as much anymore. You need to have that balance between, you know, diplomacy and you know, the warrior, all that. And so he becomes the new Jakar on the station. And needless to say, Veer is promoted. Boom. He's promoted up and now has become the ambassador to Babylon 5, that moon face assassin of joy. Sheridan didn't want to have a goodbye celebration, but ISN spilled the beans.
Yes, the
Everyone was
media
waiting.
ruined it. Yeah,
Yep.
They found out the information.
But Sheridan let Delenn do the talking, and she gives a goodbye speech. Get on board the shuttle, get over to the White Star, and as they go to the Right Star, they match the orbit or the rotation of the station, where they officially give their goodbye. There we are, looking at the new face of Babylon 5.
Which, if you don't mind me adding, I'm going to go ahead and put the spoilers up.
Okay,
This ties directly into Babylon 5: The Road Home, because they recreate this scene.
Yep.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I'm going to pick that up, like I said, on Amazon sometime soon.
Yeah, I had to get it right away. But yeah, I mean, again, tying it in, that movie tying it into this episode amongst all others. You know, the respect between these people, and now it's time to leave. And they do head off to Minbar, and now it becomes more of the story of getting from point A to point B to the Minbari homeworld. On the way there, there's a problem aboard the White Star, and there's a coolant leak in the weapons, and Sheridan tries to pull the Ranger out that was in there to safety, but unable to do so and is trapped in there. The person who can save him, though, is Lanier, who chooses not to and turns and runs away because he basically has a lot of issues about all this. And he changes his mind, and as he comes back, you know, by that time, Sheridan has, you know, broken the glass. They gotten out, they're getting their oxygen, their treatment to be able to, you know, to survive and the people around. And Delenn comes around and basically asking Lanier what happened. He turns and runs and jumps into a fighter and flies away, turning off all communications so he doesn't have to talk to them. So let's just stop right there. I mean, did anybody see this coming? I mean, when the first time was?
No, because you consider how loyal Lanier was to Delenn, especially. You didn't think he had any animosity toward the union of Sheridan and Delenn.
He let his feelings take over, of course. That part of his brain, and that it's obviously been building for a while, so he just let his feelings take over. That he just couldn't take it, and he says, "Oh, you know, at this point, if Sheridan's out of the picture, maybe then I can finally be with Delenn." And, you know, the arrogance of that, but
yeah, and you know, it's kind of interesting too with that. There's a little bit of bigotry that you got out of Lanier, because he didn't think that she should be with a human.
But yeah, but then Lanier thinks, you know what? No, I need to go back. And yeah, he was like, "Oh, I can go back and save Sheridan." And that look Sheridan gives Lanier, it's just like, I've got to leave. And I'm sure some people, I know when we were watching this with Phil and Crit and stuff, I remember Crit did not like. I remember. I mean, I'm speaking for him because I mean he did say this. Like if he was here, I'm sure he would say the same thing. But that he didn't like that Lanier ran away. But watching that episode with nobody else around earlier, I'm starting to see it more because, you know, sometimes you get influenced by watching something with other people because you're all talking. So then you watch it again by yourself. You're like, yeah, I mean, I probably at first I was like, yeah, why is Lanier doing this? I don't know if I like this writing. Then you start thinking, well, yeah, he's got really strong feelings for Delenn, and
Yeah, and he's already admitted those feelings to Delenn.
exactly.
And she knew of it, but she was shocked about how far it went. They would do that.
Right. Exactly.
I don't
And
think she realized how much he was in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she realized that. I only think she saw she was blind on her part, seeing a good friend, maybe best friend, so to speak, and she never saw that coming. And even when he admitted it to her, I still don't think she grasped how deep that went.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, a little bit, you know, Delenn's known for wisdom, let's say, for the show. On this part, her wisdom wasn't 100%. Let's just say that.
Right.
She should have realized all that time, okay, something's going on here. Even if she would have confronted him before she got married about how he felt and everything, which probably would have been a good idea. I still don't think she grasped just how sometimes some people fall in love with somebody and the other person doesn't return it. The thing is in life, and we all can probably say we've been there.
Right.
If someone doesn't feel the same way as you do, you have two choices: accept it or move on.
Right.
If you can't accept it, then the best thing is to move on. Now, maybe that would have did some good, or maybe not. But maybe he would have left a lot sooner and for the better than what ended up happening. So, but I don't think if she had to sit down the way he was feeling, I almost get the impression he was in love with her, not for her, but what she represented. If that makes sense. That's how I seen it. If it was Delenn, the coffee shop owner, as opposed to Delenn, the leader of one of her races, would he still feel the same and as strong as for her in that regard? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I will compare it on the other hand with Sheridan and the people he chose. I think he did love the women that he did marry, the 3 women. So there's a difference there. Like I said, it gets deep, but unless a person that's watching a show understands what falling in love is, and sometimes falling out of love is, it's hard for a person to understand it. Me, I can see the beauty of the whole situation by watching it. Somebody that's not used to that type of situation, this is totally alien. So this probably would not make sense to certain people.
Right.
You know, and that's not belittling anybody. I'm not saying I'm trying to belittle anybody. I'm just saying if you don't know what it is to love somebody, and you, like I said, either way, if you get the affection return, great. But sometimes you have to understand you get the opposite. You know, and you got to be able to handle rejection. If you can't handle rejection, you get what happened to them. You know, I'm sorry, it might sound mean and cruel, but that's what happens. You know, that's just my feeling on it.
And so saith the McCracken.
So say it.
So where were we? Oh, with the Lanier and Delenn.
You okay there, Baron?
Yeah, it's hard to.
Did I get a little too emotional for you?
No, I just swallowed wrong. I just swallowed wrong. Yeah, and he does contact her, and she says, "Come on back." And it's like, no, he's got to try to redeem himself for what he did, and basically off he goes. Again, leaving an opening right there because there's not a full closure on that. But then again, there doesn't need to be.
No, that's the mystery that's involved. What happened to Lanier after that incident?
Right. You have hints.
That's a for the fans to speculate. JMS can give hints, like you were saying.
Right. Just the same as Lita and Jakar. What happened between the last episode and Sleeping in Light, or War with All In, I should say, when he's back in the palace. What was the life? What happened to Lita? All that. We don't fully know. We have hints, but that's about it.
Were they separated at some point, or did something happen where they were caught by Centauri forces and she was executed? You don't know.
The telepath war, because we did hear about the telepath war was happening. We knew that happened. So yeah, we don't fully know. Of course, they do arrive back at Mimbar, and for the big coronation thing, and they're greeted by no other than, you can say it, Mike,
Lando Malari.
That's Emperor Malari. So he's come, and which of course obviously stuns our lovely couple there, but they're having the dinner, and it's like, do you have, he said some pretty nasty things, and it's like, I was having the plate of the people. It's just the thing. It's only politics. And through the whole thing, he's asking, is there any alcohol? And it's like, no, we don't have any because of Minbari. The Minbari can't handle it. So out of respect, I don't have any alcohol. He says, not even a little something somewhere. No. He's desperately wanting to have a drink, as they would say on Father Ted. But then he decides he wishes to leave a gift. It's basically, it looks like an urn, but an urn jar. It's been around for 2,000 years since, of course, the construction, and it's supposed to go from one generation to the next. But Londo sat back and said, I feel I'm going to be the last emperor, and I have no issue. And so I give it to you to pass on to your whoever he or she is. And there is a lot of discomfort with him doing so. But he goes back on board his ship, and he's basically told, you've been a good boy, and you get an hour of free time, to yourself. And yeah, it's this could be almost the tragedy of Lando Malari, or the very long night of Lando Malari, because he now we're seeing the puppet getting used by the Thrak.
Yes. And let's also not forget about that urn. It is mentioned that it's sealed at the bottom.
It's supposed to hold the very water that passed by in front of the palace at that certain time, and considered, I don't know if holy is the word or not. I don't know, but sacred.
Yeah,
because of it. But what is inside of it, though, is a sleeping keeper.
Yes.
And we do have that alluded to with about David being freed and saved. So we can speculate that this was the keeper that attached himself onto David Sheridan, and they were able to free from it. So, but you're seeing a lot of the prophecies and such that are coming. I mean, Lanier is seeing about, when Morden came and telling him what he was going to do. Well, it was spot right on. It's like, this is what you're going to do. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to listen to me, but this is what's going to happen. You're going to betray everybody. And Lanier then in Day of the Dead can't believe that. Londo, being a puppet, he's arranging things up for what we've seen in past episodes that take care in the future. So we still have those connections throughout the whole show. And even, Veer, when they go, he does that wave. The Veer wave.
Yep.
And, so it'd be, what would you say? You said that this is fan service, but no, it's not. This is truly, even though Minbari don't have a word for it, goodbye. And that's the episode in a nutshell. Again, a simple story. It's not complex. Yeah, there's a little here and there, might be a little bit of action, but it's drama, and it's about the family. It's about those we leave behind, in a sense. I'm leaving the station now. It's under all new management, and I hope they don't wreck it around the on the next orbit. That type of thing. And now it's time to lead that new life. Everybody. Garibaldi goes back and hires on all these troublemakers at Edgar Industries. All the troublemakers, the vocal whistleblowers and critics and attitude problems.
Because he wants people to tell him when he's screwing up, when the company's screwing up, to keep him in line, to keep the company profitable.
Right. And he doesn't want them to be afraid to bring it to him. But they better be on target with what they're saying, or else he'll come down on them. And understandable so. I mean, which of course seems to please all these troublemakers. These are basically Garibaldi's people.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want to be BS too, and he's not going to he's not going to BS us. So let's do it. Let's make a better company. I do think there's a problem here, and this is why I think it is. Not I feel it is. He's like, no, you need to have praise and point, and that's what everyone's appreciative of. So time for Stanley. I said his name earlier. Sebastian Cabot is out, and Garibaldi Jr. is in.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies nowadays in real life may need to work like that. They need to watch that scene. Like, you can criticize me, but if you get it wrong, I'm going to fry you.
Right, exactly.
I like that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, don't come to me the bitch, just the bitch. You better have something on the plate.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And any other thoughts on this episode?
Yes. Could you go back to the image of them at the table?
Oh, with Londo?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to take a moment and notice something. Probably the once and only time on television did you see carrot juice being used as a drink. I mean, can you name another show that you've seen people drinking carrot juice? I know they're not calling it carrot juice, but that's way darker than normal orange juice there.
Doctor Who.
Carrot juice.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Who, right there.
But I will say, I want to point this out. I skipped this, and I'm sorry. I've always been a fan of Babylon 5's wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say
I am shocked. Shocked. No,
it is good. Whoever was in charge of wardrobe and sets and everything, they did a beautiful job, and they didn't slack from season 1 to season 5. Some of the from the uniform changes, outfits, clothing, even here towards the end. Look at the clothing. I mean, if you go to even this episode, you skip through the screenshots, you'll see the clothing is just as good as it was in the very first episode. That's pretty hard to do. I have to say, up there and maybe equally parred with Star Trek. When it comes to the wardrobe,
right?
Yeah. But I mean, take a moment, look at the set. I mean, everything that's on there, the fancy dishes, the silverware, the design of the table. And you better believe someone took some time to cut some holes in that table to make it look special, unique. Mm-hmm. Look at the lamppost over there in the corner, a unique design for lighting. Look. And then simple things like the 2 candle-like objects over there behind them. And don't miss out on the little picture frame there on the bottom left corner.
Yeah,
small things makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. And from it helps
give it a sense that it's being lived in.
Yes,
Right.
totally. I couldn't said it better. Totally.
Mhm.
But
Right.
I wanna say if there was from start to finish with Babylon 5, there was no holding back on costumes, sets, things that were set up to make it look even better. Even Sheridan sitting there in a kind of relaxed uniform. Yeah, he's not the commander anymore, but president of the alliance. It gives him a simple, relaxing feel, but you still see the little tags on there on the side of him. So he's relaxed. He's in a comfortable clothing, but he still has the aura to show that who's in charge. And look at Lando. I got to put my gloves off to the side, all dressed in white with a little gold trim. And if you notice, his hair's been changed a little bit. It's a little bit higher now than what it was. He's got the peacock going, even bigger. So
yeah, because higher in status you go,
higher
the bigger.
status.
That is because he is Emperor Malari.
Yeah. And I would say, like I said, I wish I could get the story behind the meaning of the cutting. Is that cut out on the table, or is that different type of glass like the rest?
It looks like it's been mirrored. It looks like it's more mirror because there's reflection.
So, but like I said, for me, I notice this. I like looking at shows that takes the time to do their sets, regardless of what kind of show it is. It could be Dukes of Hazzard. It could be what's the other car show big of the day? Knight Rider. Yeah, I was a kid and I noticed that stuff.
Yeah, of course, man. It's good to notice
differently.
detail. It's good. Details should be always important, man, on anything.
But like I said, the importance of like this scene. No, I mean, somebody took time to pick out. Hey, I'm gonna get this special looking dishware with these special little super shiny spoons and forks, but smart enough to be little. Let's make our drink a little special. Let's put some carrot juice on TV. There you go.
Well, it's kind of funny. Some of the stuff they got from IKEA. Some of the glasses and stuff like that. But also these sets were made, and these sets were not really necessarily standing sets either. They were designed to move around because they have limited space, and so nothing was static in one spot where you could keep it that way. So sometimes when you saw a room, it had to be redone every episode because we're going to need this room for this situation now, and then try to remember how it all looked. Which is where you have those continuity people are very important.
I don't know who, but I guarantee you somebody got a hold of that dining room table. Someone got a hold of that. I don't know who. Might have been an actor, might be a producer or somebody, but that table didn't just up and disappear into the studio warehouse. That got
for all we know, it could have been used in another production too.
Yeah. They like to reuse that stuff. So might have gone to Crusade. Don't know. And
I'll be first to tell people, hey, that Babylon 5 kitchen table has been found.
Well, of course, you're bringing up about the carrot juice. What I found interesting, I forgot to mention it all throughout the season. In that first episode, No Compromise, if you take a look, Delenn is drinking blue milk. in the morning. So I saw that. I kind of chuckled at myself. I was meant to bring it up even that day for the show, but it kept on sliding past me. So here we are. The objects are coming to rest now. This is the last filmed episode of Babylon 5. Not the last one, but the last filmed. Last thoughts before we go to the inevitable. Okay, so
I'll save it for the last episode.
Okay, and basically, I have to bring this up. This was the place marker that was put on Sleeping in Light, aka Farewell, since the first day Lurker's Guide to Babylon 5 came online. Because all the way in the beginning, Straczynski said that there was going to be a definite end episode, all that. So they had a place marker already set up for that final episode and just a few. But it's a duck in space, and there's a joke behind this.
I'm sure there is.
Right. When DC Comics did the first issue of Babylon 5 Comics, written by JMS himself, one of the artists, I'm sure it's very innocently, but it looked like you could see, Sheridan Sinclair was in bed and Dean woken up, and it looked like you could see his privates. And so someone was asking, and basically kind of that people could see his and J. Michaelson says, he goes, "What, you mean duck?" And that stuck to that. I know it's a very poor joke and all that, but for 5 years that duck was a placeholder and still's on the Lurker's Guide because a little thing in the comic books. So we hear about Phil Simback saying about how we notice these things. Yeah, we notice these things. And the first thing we also notice in this episode is we don't have an opening title. The only thing that we see is the title of the episode, which is Sleeping in Light. And it's now 2281 and 20 years after the rest of the series. And Sheridan is feeling that pull and having those dreams of Loria and telling them about I cannot create life, but I can put the spark in, and you might have 20 years. And he's knowing this is it, this is the time, and tells Delenn, hey, it's best to send the letters out. And he's doing that as he's sitting on a bench with Delenn watching the sunrise. He says, I never really had a chance to look the sunrise coming up, in all this time. And I wanted to enjoy watching the sun, and especially with you. So the letters go out to everybody. And one of the first people that get this message is our esteemed General Ivanova. And again, the details you're talking about, Phil, one of the things that they focused on for quite a bit was Harlan Ellison's, I think it was Harlan Ellison's Hugo, or was JMS's Hugo for an episode of Babylon 5. Kind of an in-your-face type of thing. And as they're coming around and she's going through all the itineraries that they're having to do and such, a ranger bursts in, and the one aide is apologizing. We try to stop him from coming in and all that, and she goes, "It's a ranger, is it?" And she made dress it down. I told you, whenever a ranger comes, you let him in right away. It's important. And she basically gets the message. It's time. And he says, clear everything off my docket. But no, clear everything off the docket. I got someplace to go. Another one, of course, Garibaldi and Franklin are at industry are the home at least. Franklin's enjoying some time off and playing tennis with Garibaldi's young daughter, I think about 16-year-old daughter, who's trying to practice for some championships and worrying out Franklin. Garibaldi promises to, let the poor old man down. I'll play with you in a little bit here. And then of course the ranger comes, gives him the notice. Franklin asks, "Are you going to go?" He goes, "No, John and I have had our problems in the past, but he's a friend. He's a friend." So now they got the letter. And the other letter then goes to Centauri Prime, where there's two lovely ladies in the bed with people kind of, the guards in there, and the ranger breaks in and he gives the letter to Emperor Vir, Emperor Kato, who comes out from underneath the blankets from the other end. He's obviously having fun. And his response is to that, to the Rangers, I'm sorry. So the letters have all been sent out. Everyone goes to Minbar, and they have basically the last dinner together, because they know this is it, and
Right.
they're telling the stories, everything what you expect, telling stories, laughing, embarrassing each other, letting each other know how much they mean to each other. Kind of powerful, kind of impactful with everything that's been going on.
It's their final gathering.
Mm-hmm. Something that sadly happened a few years later with Andreas Katsoulis in JMS. They had that dinner, and that's when Andreas Katsoulis started telling all these embarrassing stories. Is what's going to happen? What are they going to do? He hears stories. I'm not going to be around. Doesn't matter, does it? Let's have fun. It's the same feel here. Is it's the last ride, and kudos to Bruce Boxleitner, because he's playing Sheridan is a bit stiff. It looks like he's kind of favoring a leg a little bit. He's obviously healthy, except for the fact that his life is coming to an end. But that he is still 20 years older than he was before, and that whole aspect with all these people. Think about it: an emperor, a former president of the Interstellar Alliance, who's now the head of the Rangers. I believe Delenn is now the president of the International Alliance, a general in Earth Force, high up. I mean, all these powerful people who've been through hell and back, and I'm sure Franklin's still the head of the Med on Earth in EarthGov. But all these powerful people, and it's like, no, it doesn't look like a group of powerful people together. They look like people,
friends, comrades, associates,
having a good time.
Mm-hmm. They saw that hell, and they've gotten through that hell, and it even comes to that factor when it kind of comes to Lando.
Yeah,
Jakar.
There's the toast to Lando, the toast to Jakar. They recall memories of the both of them, and
the basically to absent friends, and just as Franklin is going to say the name, Ivanova says it, Marcus. And what's important about that is that is supposed to be the first time she ever said his name since she left Babylon 5. So, we know that these are the people who are no longer with us in the Babylon 5 universe, obviously. We never heard anything with Lanier. I can't remember. I don't think they say anything for Lanier. Of course, Lita, nothing said about her.
It's true.
But
they never bring her up.
But now it's time to move on. I mean, he's going to go. He wants to leave early in the morning before everyone else gets up, because he doesn't want his leaving to dour what he wanted. Like an Irish wake before he died. And of course, he and Delenn meet. They say their goodbye. He's walking off. She's watching. He stops like he's about to turn, but no, he keeps on and turns the corner, because I'm sure if he turned around, he wouldn't leave. I'm sure that's what it must be. How much pain that was on him. And he takes one of the blue stars, a smaller version of the white star. And what's his first place he's going to visit, folks?
Babylon 5.
There we go. You win the spatula. You win the spatula, the genuine Pacific 414 spatula, which, it doesn't matter because you own them anyways. But he goes there. We see the last commander of Babylon 5, who's closing down the station, which surprisingly Sheridan didn't know about. He also runs into Zach, who himself has a very pronounced limp. So what happened to him? What, and like he said in the last episode, he figured he'd be on Babylon 5 till the lights turn off. Well, he was absolutely right. He's there at the final end, the closing of the station down, and offering to take them Sheridan around and even have dinner. But no, the clock is ticking. John's got to go, and so he goes where the beginning where the end was, Coriana 6th, because he was told to go there, and by Lorian and cryptically by Kosh from the Day of the Dead, no less. Do you know this guy by the name of Kosh? He said to go to this place, and he reaches that spot, and basically he's being told he's dying, and the light, your light monitors are going, and he's telling shut things down. Then a light starts coming in, and here you go, it's Lorian, and he goes, it's time to go beyond the rim. And can I come back? No. Once we go, we go. It's new adventures out there. It's something new, but you can't ever come back. And as the light engulfs that cabin, he goes, the sun's rising. And you see the ship from the outside, the inside cabinet lights up bright, and then everything's dead. All black. And we get the narration from Ivanova that they sent Rangers out, they found the ship, all the airlocks were closed, there was no body, they don't know what happened to Sheridan. And you start seeing the things that have changed, such as, of course, Veer goes back to being the Emperor, the Emperor. Well, before we do that, they go to Babylon 5 for the closing ceremony. Can't forget that. And they're all standing in line, comforting Dylan is Zach. I mean, how apropos. I mean, Zach was an amazing character, and he was played wonderfully.
I was going to say Brantley, played by Jeff Conaway.
Yeah. And you could feel that carrying that love. And as they're going into the lift, Garibaldi takes a shot glass off where the bar is, and as a trinket. I mean, I'm sure there's many messages with that. And as they disappear down, you see one lone technician going down the hallway and opens up a power box, reaches up to pull the switch, and basically, the lights in the station turn off. And I think I'll come back to the scene in a little bit, but that was also the cameo by JMS. Basically he's shutting the lone station down. And they get in the shuttle, they leave the shuttle, and the power core, goes critical, and Babylon 5, with all the Interstellar Alliance watching, goes boom. We saw all the way back with the prediction, all the way back in episode 1 about, what's going to happen to Babylon 5, and Sinclair saw the destruction of Babylon 5. Well, here it was, 20 some years later, Babylon 5 is now gone. And what was kind of interesting about that scene was it was because Straczynski was also directing this episode, and they were setting the shot up, the lighting, and all that, and somehow, I can't remember, was it this scene or was it another scene with? No, my apologies. A scene with Sheridan when he's looking in the mirror wearing his uniform, and there was like almost an image of a cross that came across totally by accident. But he said, "No, leave that there," because that was kind of a powerful statement. But no, Sinclair or Sheridan was. He's especially with an episode that basically is a dirge in some ways, a farewell. Mm-hmm. But of course, Delenn is the president. Zach is now helping Veer on Centauri Prime. Veer tries to go back to the women, but nope. Zach pulls him back down. You got work to do, type of thing. Garibaldi goes back to Mars and sees the trophy his daughter won. General Ivanova is now Ranger 1. She's the head of the Rangers. And, she's giving that soliloquy at the end about, how everything has changed and how we all move along. And the last scene we have is Delenn sitting on the bench on Minbari Prime watching the sun coming up. And as she sits back, there's Sheridan next to her in spirit. And that's it. It's simple.
And it doesn't have to be complex ever. It can just be simple, and it can be just as great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, really, these 3 episodes, especially if you watch them all at one time, it hits you.
It does.
I would say definitely with the ending and everything. First of all, Bruce Boxleer is a great actor.
Yeah, he is.
Scarecrow Mrs. King is a great show. He did great acting in Babylon 5. I liked him in Gods and Generals, even though he wasn't the original actor to play Longstreet. He did a magnificent job being a substitute to act as General Longstreet. I thought he did more. I know a lot of people do not like that movie, but he, to me, was a hidden gem in that movie. So, as far as the ending for General Sheridan, look, our heroes in any of these sci-fis or any of these imagined shows sometimes don't get the glorious kickoff that you and I would think they should have got. No one's happy how Captain Kirk died.
No.
Nobody. But we have to understand, in a realistic world, and even though this isn't realistic, but it's trying to emulate, sometimes the hero does not get a glorified ending. Okay? Now, I do, in some ways, like Sheridan's idea of, I'm going to die, but I want to go out in space on my own. I think it would have been a little bit better if he would have did that, but Delenn was there. I do not like the idea of a person that's with another person, if they can at all possible, dying alone. Okay? I think his significant other should have been there, would have been more touching, I think, personally. So, but I can't argue how a creator decides how he's going to end a character.
All right.
But I think it would have been more impactful, and I would love to have seen the reaction of her seeing him pass on. As far as the other endings of people going on in Babylon 5 going on, look, it doesn't make a difference if you worked at a job for 20 years or you worked at a job for 50 years. It's never the same. Look, we're in 2024. Is 2024 anything like 2014? No. It's only 10 years difference. And the things that change in them 10 years, I can't speak for everybody, but I can tell you in some cases might be minor, but there's drastically changes in people's lives. You could be elderly and, lose a lot of your family members in a short period of time.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there, just not saying, trying to make it personal or anything, but, time moves on, I mean, it doesn't matter if you like sports, a person starts out as a rookie and does 20 years and then bows out due to, old age and skills gone.
Yeah.
You got to remember they have to move on. I can sit here and someone could say, for an example, the Iron Man from the Baltimore Orioles. I can't think of his name right now. But growing up, the Iron Man, he was always there with the Baltimore Orioles. You knew every season they're never going to get rid of him. He's never going to move on. He's going to be there the next year, the next year, the next year, until he decided he was going to retire. Okay. And for a person that lived at that time, when he was actually playing, you marveled at it. Now, I can explain it to a person today that never seen Cal Ripken play a game. All right. And yes, you can go on YouTube and watch it, but you're not experiencing as it happened. There's a difference. There's a hell of a lot of difference. You can translate that to Sheridan day one when he took over Babylon 5 until he finally left Babylon 5. And I'll give him credit. He does, even though there's only a couple years difference, he looks older and mature in that period of time as he's there in Babylon 5. So I give the show credit in that way. I give the show that it shows people have moved on, what is happening to them or what's going to be happening to them as they moved on. My only complaint, and I might be nitpicking, is still that I think when Sheridan knew he was going to die, I think he should have took Dylan with him, not to die, but to be there at the end. It's I can't speak for other people. I can speak for myself. If I'm dying, I want my loved ones near me. I don't want. I'd be painful to know that I'm moving on and they're staying behind. But that feeling and acknowledgement of being loved and experiencing that they're there for me at my last moments, hopefully that will be some way. Hopefully that's the way I go. But we all know that you don't get a choice. And
well, counterpoint. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say a counterpoint on that one is basically the goodbyes were said. The loved ones were around with that meal.
Yes,
like I said, the Irish wake while you're still there.
You can call it the Last Supper, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Exactly. All across that board. But
I guarantee you, Baron, if you're in that situation and you know you were going to go,
well,
you want to be around your loved ones.
Well, there's a little bit more to all that too. Is he wasn't alone when he did go, and we don't even fully know if he truly did die or not. We just know that he was not able to come back again.
So he pulled another space. He pulled a space Jesus, is what you're saying.
No, not a space Jesus per se, but no. Remember what was one?
Lorian was with him,
right,
when he passed.
What was one of the inspirations for the show? And it very much shows all across the board, especially when you have a planet called Zahadum. And that's Tolkien. And at the end of Tolkien, of course, the Lord of the Rings, they go west beyond the sea. And the last that goes across the sea was, of course, Samwise, who stayed behind until his wife passed away. Everyone else had gone. And now it's his turn to go beyond, go west beyond this, beyond the sea. And it has that significant moment. It was be kind of hard for Sheridan to bring Dylan along with what was all going to be happening. This was as much of a private moment as anything else, because this was the being that brought him back, was able to give him this life. And he knew, he knew there was something. That's why he went there. If that wasn't the case, he would have stayed and died in bed. But this is truly the proverbial, the hero, the soldier fades away. And he did, with Lorian across, beyond the rim. The same thing. So there was that connotation with the folklore and mythology and Tolkien and other works on that one.
I will give you something to think about And I will use this also because you discussed about them blowing up Babylon 5.
Right.
Okay. Any of our warships that we had in World War II, vast majority got scrapped.
Right.
Vast majority. Okay. The important ones they did keep. Now, a famous ship that we all know is the Titanic. Now, that ship never hit an iceberg, and it survived and went on and survived World War One and World War Two. What do you think would have happened to that ship after they were done with it?
It would have had the same fate as the Olympic itself.
Yep, it would have got scrapped. It would have got scrapped. No matter how important it was. Olympic was just the story of Olympic is to me better than Titanic, but it is less known. But yeah, it would have got scrapped.
Well, yeah, because the only thing that made Titanic famous was unfortunately its sinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing I will point out, and it did happen on Titanic, to me, the most probably from that era all the way up to maybe after World War II, most to me, heroic thing ever happened or reported happened. We all heard the story about the Strausses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Isidore Strauss's wife was told to get on the boat by her husband, and she literally almost got into the boat.
Right.
What does she do?
She went
She turns around, goes back to him, and says, "I'm not getting on the boat. I'm staying with you. I've been together with you for over 40 years, and I'm staying." That took a lot of guts, bravery beyond bravery, to stay with the man that she was married to for 40 years and says, if this is your end, then this is going to be my end. I'm not comparing love in the same degree as them as Sheridan and Delenn. But to me, if I understand the character of Delenn, I think she would want to be there if he was dying and this was the end for him. I think she would have wanted to be there. Even though it would have been the most painful thing to see him go, I think she would have wanted to be there. I think it would have been huge for the show for him to be there.
I can agree with you on that point, Phil, but also keep this in mind. Both she and Sheridan and everyone else knew that Sheridan only had 20 years left. So she probably spent every moment of those 20 years with him as often as she could.
I believe so too. I believe that.
Right.
But like I said, when you experience, and we all experience loved ones, and we know real life and a show trying to portray real life, not all the times do we get to say goodbye to a loved one.
No.
And when
I didn't get to say goodbye to my dad.
Yeah, but by
the time I got to the hospital, he was already passed.
And it's hard because, like I said, I mean, I don't want to call it a fairy tale ending. I don't like to say that.
No.
But sometimes endings can happen. You know, Sheridan could have walked by airlock and boom, got sucked out and died. You know, anything could happen, even in our little fantasy world here. But I'm just saying, even in the fantasy world, we don't always get the happy send off, you know, and there's been many examples of great characters in our lore that didn't get the ending we thought they should have got. And I'm not saying that for Sheridan. It's a good ending. I would have just liked it a little bit more had she been there. Yeah.
Well, I think what the big thing is, and what makes this even more important, is it's not a typical way that they end a series. Are the hero, right? You know, everything that you were describing there is how we normally would want to have in a show, and they try to do in a show. But you know, we have to remember that, you know, despite what she looks like, Delenn is still Minbari, and they have certain ways and they have different certain views and understandings that, you know, humans don't necessarily fully comprehend. And like I said, as you see walking down that that aisle, that hallway in the minbar as he's leaving, it's him that's almost doing the hesitant, stopping and wanting to turn around because, and if he would have turned around, he probably would have stayed, but he knew he had to go, and unfortunately, Delenn or nobody else can go with him. This is his soldier. This is his ride to wherever it needs to be. So this is shaking the convention of a lot of stuff with television. And the fact that you have a hero coming to the end, that's basically, like I said, the soldier fading away. But again, we don't know if he truly did die or not. I mean, there is enough hints there that, if he goes with Lorianne, he's going to stay alive. But in what capacity? In which way? Is he going to be brought forward like Ironheart and others to where humanity will be in 1,000,000 years? We don't know. Again, this is a question that's left unanswered, and it should be, because it gets us, like we're doing right here, talking and discussing what ifs. And what's so wonderful about this is none of us are right and none of us are wrong, unless J. Michael Zinsky comes out and says specifically, this is what happened. And he ain't going to do that anytime soon, if ever. And
the smart writers and creators always leave a window of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for this, Babylon 5. Goes with a lot of shows and a lot of, books and entertainment. Some things are not meant to be answered. So I can respect that. If Sheridan's alive, is he dead or whatever? It's good to get your mind to thinking, if he's alive, what's he doing?
Right.
I mean,
and there has to be something. There has to be something if Lorianne wants him to meet him there.
How many shows can you name? And there are quite a few to have a mysterious openness towards the ending. Stargate SG-1, when the show ends, Gate doesn't just disappear. And their mindset, even the actor said, is, it's not over really, because you can use your mind, and they're going through that gate tomorrow. When Star Wars Return of the Jedi ended, Lucas didn't say, end the story. The story goes on. You can make up the endings. But Luke Skywalker is not disappeared. He's not gone. He's not anything. He's still there. He'll be doing Luke Skywalker things. That was marvelous about like Star Wars, and even in some cases Star Trek the same way. Like I said, I do like the realism that sometimes I'll give the only credit for Kirk's death. Not all deaths are going to be ideal, because guess what? In real life, not tomorrow, unfortunately, one of us can go out that door, just for a simple errand and not come back. Well, that can happen to our heroes, even in stories.
Right.
How many times do we read a story and say, that guy shouldn't have died so soon, even in a story? We're like, why did he get written off so quick? Because some things happen, and that's just the way it works. Call it fate, call it whatever. I do like the ending. Don't get me wrong. I do like the ending. I think he did a marvelous job with the ending. And I'll even say this is Bruce Boxler's best acting in the show. Final scenes of his character. I thought it was great. I like how they made him aged. Mind you, if you look how youthful he looks in the beginning of the series, true appearance, and then look at him towards this very end, you could, of course, they made him age a lot, but he played the character well. And he's a fabulous actor. He does not get the credit he deserves. Scarecrow Mrs. King was a marvelous show. And like I said, he has played in some movies. But for me, one of his starring gems is as General Longstreet in Gods and Generals. I thought he did a magnificent job. I know he wasn't the first choice because they wanted the original actor from Gettysburg to come back, but he couldn't come back. So, but I thought he did a magnificent job.
Yeah, I mean, everybody on this show was top tier. There's just no doubt about it.
The only one I do have an issue is the guy who played Garibaldi, because to me, that is always going to be the cheap man version of Bruce Willis.
Thank you, Mr. McCracken.
Here's what I gotta say about Jerry Doyle and all the cast members of Babylon 5, whether they were recurring or guest stars. This show was able to bring in guest stars that you wouldn't think would even show up. Yes, we've seen David Warner in Star Trek, but seeing him in Babylon 5, it honestly was a waste of his talents.
It was, sadly.
And it's a shame that kind of guest appearance was wasted. And the same goes for Robert Englund in Grade 17 is Missing. Wasted another.
That episode. Go ahead, Mike.
But, you have different guest stars who you've seen on various Star Trek series and various other series who come in and they just add to the series. I mean, Walter Koenig. Everybody knows him as Chekhov, but him as Nestor was probably one of his best roles he's ever done.
Absolutely.
I like his acting ability. Don't like his political stance, but that's totally different. But I will say he's a prime example for me of a person that I can like his acting skills. And for me, for entertainment, he is good for me for entertainment. I don't have to like his political beliefs. I don't feel comfortable talking about it, but I'll just say I just totally disagree with it. But he is a great and wonderful actor. I thought he got a little cheapened, especially when most of the crew of the original Star Trek got into the cartoons, and his character was kicked to the curb, even though they did give him ability to direct an episode.
That's because Filmation couldn't afford to hire everybody.
Yeah, I think Mike had talked about that before.
That. I really do.
Yeah.
But animation-wise, they could have put him in there. And I think
it's the voice.
I would even think he would have took a pay cut to do the voice of Chekhov if he was given that option. I don't know. Maybe they did offer it to him at a lower price. I don't know. But I think he was cheapened to get his character replaced and everybody else there. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but I do like him as Fester. Thought he did a great job. He's a wonderful actor. I can't say I don't like him as a human being because I never heard anything bad about him as a human being. But the only thing I would ever say, and it's totally off the entertainment chart, is that I don't like his political beliefs. But I never seen him force that on anybody. Unlike other Star Trek people that have tried to force their beliefs on people. So I give him props. And as far as the other actors on this show, I think it was opportunities, golden opportunities. If they were trying to do Babylon 5 today, 2024, and say Deep Space Nine is out same time, and Sci-Fi Channel was Sci-Fi Channel before 2008. If this guy had to promote his Babylon 5, where would he go? Which station will pick it up? Now, Star Trek, has the power of Paramount and NBC behind it. He had an opportunity there when he had, a series of channels to pick him up. Maybe if it was a couple years later, it might have been able to be picked up if it didn't get there onto the Sci-Fi Channel. But it was a perfect timing for this show. Like I said, there's a lot of shows that they they tried to come out and they fizzled out. So I think the stars were aligned for Babylon 5. And if there's a what if for me, I would say if this had ended up being Deep Space Nine, would this have the same similar arc to it that it had? Or would it be a half and half of what really Deep Space Nine is today with a half of what Babylon 5 is?
I'm going to say that it wouldn't have been the show that we know it to be because it would have been restricted by the rules of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Rules that Gene Roddenberry set forth. Yes, those rules were bent from time to time. However, you are constrained as to what you can do and what you can't do in the Star Trek universe, where having Babylon 5 be its own thing allowed J. Michael Straczynski to dictate where the series goes from start to finish. Again, as we mentioned earlier, they had some cast changes from the pilot movie to the show and even during the show's run that J. Michael Straczynski had to adapt changes of new cast members coming in. We lose to Jeffrey Sinclair, but we get John Sheridan. We lose Ivanova, but we get Captain Lockley. And you got to give J. Michael Straczynski credit for writing a very good character in Lockley, even if it was only in one season of Babylon 5. I know she's in Crusade, but I'm strictly talking about Babylon 5 here. To, let us as an audience member know that she and Sheridan had a past. And they were together at one time. But they were able to put aside their differences, their personal differences, and work together with Captain Lockley as the new station commander.
I think her character would have been, not that it wasn't big enough, but bigger had she had one more season with that character.
Well, she essentially gets that one more season with Crusade.
Right. But I thought she was an excellent choice, even though we lose Ivana. But it wasn't, I wouldn't even call it like a cast replacement because she wasn't replacing her, No. Besides having a female role, if you want to call it, I hate saying that. I really do. I just prefer to say she got a different role. That's all. I just find the similarities here that an actor on this show happened to run into issues very similar to what happened in Deep Space Nine with an actress that had, I won't say it's money, but I will definitely say for the actress over there in Deep Space Nine, it was about money. And I think Deep Space Nine got hurt by it, where I don't think it was the case in Babylon 5. It wasn't as dirty as it was what happened over there to Deep Space Nine. And someday, I would hopefully somebody out there will be able to sit down and talk about what happened to the actress over there in Deep Space Nine.
She's talked about it. Terry Farrell's talked about it over and over about how she was negotiating her new contract. She wanted more money to come back on, but she didn't want her character to be killed. She begged and pleaded to the writers and producers, please don't kill my character. The writers and producers chose to
kill
off her character, and that's how we got Ezri Dax.
Yeah, but she was a good actress. Even though she didn't have, again, another example of an actress didn't have enough time with the character.
Right.
But let's just say other people have confirmed the issues and problems that wasn't on the Deep Space Nine cast, but were on the Voyager cast that confirms everything that she says in private interviews about what was going down. And one of them being, I forgot her real name, but the actress that played Janeway confirmed it.
Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah, she confirmed
Yeah,
it.
that's her.
Like I said, towards the end there, it was even leaking out. This wasn't unknown to the public. This was leaking out during the final season of Deep Space Nine. This stuff was getting out. So it got dirty there, where Babylon 5 didn't have the dirt.
No.
It did.
I mean, the
I'll give them
biggest.
credit in that. They didn't
Well, no,
have the dirt. So,
everybody basically liked each other in that show and were friends with each other.
mhm.
A bit again. The big problem was, unfortunately, there were complications with Michael O'Hare in the first season. He and Jerry Doyle almost came to blows, but then you find out why that was the case. All these years later, sadly, the mental illness that he was suffering from, Michael O'Hare, but was able to at least come back to have a proper send off for the character. And of course, with Claudia Christian, that was all about money, because going to TNT was a different pay structure within the union than being on a syndicated television show, because a syndicated is terrestrial, and now she's going to a cable, and she would not have been getting as much money there. And as much as she was looking forward to continuing on, agents got involved, everything. It became very messy. A lot of people, JMS didn't talk to her for the longest time. But they buried the hatchet, and they appear together and such. So,
it's obvious they buried the hatchet. Otherwise, she wouldn't have returned for the road home.
Right.
I would say it's not always the case, even though money is the ultimate issue. What people don't understand, these actors, when they get onto a series and do a series, they get what you call residuals.
Right.
And these residuals does not end when the show ends. Re-airs, wherever they're re-airing it, these actors get paid. And sometimes what Mr. Boxletter over there is getting paid might not be getting the same amount being Mr. Doyle. Okay, for whatever the reason. But maybe Mr. Doyle wants to have a little better deal. Show's successful. It's going to be successful in reruns. Hey, I need to make the deal now, because when the show's over, chances of you getting a better deal from reruns and stuff like that are slim. You have to do it when the show. And this isn't, like I said, this is not the only time money plays a big part in a lot of these shows. I can name probably two of the actors from MASH. Towards the end, there were in negotiations, mainly because not the current payment on what they're doing in the episode, but mainly what's the big deal is the reruns. That's where most of these actors, there's a period in time an actor isn't going to make money, and they survive on that.
Well, the thing is this situation, though, on Babylon 5 was not necessarily the residual, but the actual pay. That she would have been taking a pay cut going to TNT, and that was a sticking point. And, of course, agents got involved. So this had nothing to do with the residuals. And the only other person, too, that they had a problem was Robert Rustler, who played Kefir in the second season only 2 times. Because he was forced on the studio, and from what I understand, he was a bit of an a-hole. Nobody liked him on the set. Pompous and full of himself. So, but other than that, you had a pretty harmonious cast, even though you had people with differing opinions of political ideas, beliefs, all that. They were a family. They were.
I consider this a close-knit group. Almost as close-knit as the people that acted in MASH. And in particular, the last few seasons, maybe not the original cast, but especially the last 3-4 seasons of MASH, that was a tight group there. even though there were some people that weren't particularly happy at the situation towards the end, because one wanted to do the one who played Hot Lips wanted to do that Cagney and Lacey, if you remember.
Right.
And they wouldn't let her go off and do it because she was under contract, and I don't blame them. But they were still a tight knit group, as actors go, and I see it here. TNG, a little bit, not as tight knit as the crew of Babylon 5, the cast there.
I disagree, Phil, because you still hear that the cast of TNG gets together for various events, various luncheons. They still communicate with one another. They are a very tight-knit group.
They might get together and they're sociable, but I wouldn't say that they were great friends. I could see the crew.
Again, I disagree.
Okay. I would say more Deep Space Nine, the actors there being tighter. I know most of them from TNG went off and did voice acting over there on Gargoyles. That was kind of cool. But they also had their little run-ins and disagreements, and some people didn't speak to each other for a while.
That's not true, Phil.
Are you sure about that?
Positive about it.
So you're telling me that the actor that played Worf didn't have an ongoing issue with Geordi? That the actor played Geordi?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, we're going to have to share some convention stuff where they talk.
But let's focus on Babylon 5.
Okay,
Right.
I'm just trying to throw it out there. That's all. I'm not trying to pick fights. I'm just comparing. That's all.
But in the end run, though, as we're coming to the end here, because we're coming close to a 2-hour mark itself, that does bring it to the end. And, obviously we have different opinions how we thought the end was or how the hero should have wrote out. But I think all of us can agree that the hero went out in a respectful way, unlike certain other franchises that we have. We very respectful of the character that we truly did love. So the 6 years, and yes, I'd say 6 years because the pilot was done a year before the series ran. The 6 years that we had Babylon 5, and we watched it, it grew, and we grew along with it, and then watching it again, and sometimes watching it again, and so on. And then it going into a limbo, and now it seems like it's getting a little bit of a resurgence, especially with the Blu-ray release and being on Tubi and getting the remaster. But what do you think of this 5-year mission of Babylon 5?
That's something the original series never got. And by original series, I mean Star Trek, the original series. Babylon 5 got that 5-year mission. They did explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, and they did it in their own way.
Even if they almost did miss 5 and only had 4 years. One of the things we can thank TNT for. Cash? No. Oh, is he there? I don't know.
What's up?
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Oh God, I can't take these people.
I have to pull one on like you do, Baron. Oh, what's going on? Where's the show today? I'm watching you, Baron.
Go right ahead.
No, but no, this is, dude. I knew about Babylon 5 from my brother's friends, his best friend actually. And my brother's never watched this. Of course, I have. You guys convinced me of Babylon 5. I watched it with Phil. He hadn't seen it in a long time. And then I watched it with, and Crit was there too. I was pretty blown away because I have always issues with some stuff of Byron, but this is the way characters should go out. I like shows because this is the way I grew up, where we have characters that always matter, where we have deaths that matter, where we have support system. And this show has all that. the Shadow War is so interesting to me, Baron. And I just love, like I've said before, the whole end of this is the Last Supper, and I understand that this show was not it was not supposed to get, I guess, as we would say, a sixth season.
No,
but
never.
I'm blown away by how good this show is, and I just that's all I can say. I mean, can't we get some more sci-fi like this ever again? No, because of the arrogance and the narcissism. If people would just roll back their brains and put their egos in check, Baron, then we would actually probably start having this stuff again. And we may still get this again, but I don't know. And even if JMS decides to do this again, it'll never be the same, just because of that time period, the certain actors, everything, the details, it just won't be the same. So and it's actually, sad what happens, Sheridan, but it was gonna happen. So I mean, they make you care about all these characters, from Delenn to Lanier and on and on and on. Garibaldi, Londo, Jakar. I mean, these are great characters, Baron. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just love really quality storytelling where if a characters die, a hero, even a villain, like, I want to feel something. And with this show, I actually always feel something from the wars, from the conflicts, from the politics. I love that.
Mr. One last little bit of thought on that there, Mr. McCracken?
No, I agree with everything that was said. I couldn't answer anymore or add to.
So, gentlemen, do you think the show still holds up?
Oh, it definitely holds up.
Yes.
There should never be a reimagined remake or anything of the show.
Nope.
Should be left alone as it is. If they want to add more, like they did recently with that animation, that's perfectly fine by me. But I would not say I want to see Babylon 5 remake or rehashed. Please, no.
Even if it's done by JMS, yes.
I wouldn't even go as far as yes, no. Please don't. If you want to do something more, do like you did with that recent animation they did, which I thought was perfect. If they want to add more to it that way,
maybe do a live action movie. I don't know. Would that work?
A direct-to-TV movie would be more.
Yeah.
If there's still such a thing as direct-to-TV.
I honestly wouldn't want a live action direct-to-TV movie, especially considering the fact that you do have so many of the main cast members who aren't
they're gone
with us
now.
anymore.
So who would? I mean, you can't. Obviously, I understand he did a really good job as a voice actor, but you couldn't get somebody like Phil Lamar to actually be Franklin in a live action. I don't think that would work very well.
Well, unless you move it to 500 to 1,000 years in the future.
Oh, that's a good point.
The playground's still there. It's still open. It's just
that's true.
Krasinski would. And, I do think, though, is with people discovering Babylon 5 now, I think hopefully this will start opening up people to start saying, yeah, this was good stuff. What happened to it? And start demanding this. Because every time we turn around and these current shows are not doing well, the studio attacks by saying the fans don't like it. The fans are retaliating against it. Well, that should be your first time.
It's currently happening with a new Star Wars series. Yeah, Colette. They're blaming the fans.
Right. They're blaming the fans. It's the fans' fault. Well, if that's the case, listen to your audience. Listen to your customers. And I think by doing so, we could have a new door opening up for something like a new Babylon 5. Not a remake, but something like Babylon 5 and others.
I would say the difference when you're comparing and you're today, you can take a show came right after Babylon 5, was a hit. Its final season was a total confusion and bomb, Andromeda.
Right.
And they acknowledge, and I'll give them credit, from the actors to everybody associated with that final season. They didn't attack the fans for complaining that it wasn't good. And that show that last season was not good. But they acknowledged themselves. This show was rushed. This show was things were done on a below par scale. And we're sorry.
Right.
We're not going to ever get that in today. That would be in today. We would have got
it would be rare.
We would have been fans complaining about this season, last season's script, and all that was involved with it. They would have do what Star Wars is doing: attack the fans.
No, not just Star Wars, but all of them across the board.
I mean, every show you can name right now that's in this genre, be it Star Wars, Doctor Who, and we know, forget what the issues are, that it's bad writing, bad acting, bad scripts, and they know it's bad. But it's the easy cop out to say, well, it's the fans' fault.
Right.
The fans
and here was the case. And here was a case where the fans kept this show alive. And J. Michael Straczynski has more than enough times gone out there and acknowledged that factor. If it wasn't for the fans, it would never have happened.
That's what happened with
had the dream.
That's what happened with Firefly as well. The fans
and
funded that ending.
The show was not on a major network. It didn't have the backing of NBC, ABC, or even back then starting out Fox. Remember, Fox had its own kickoff of a sci-fi channel when it came out. And I believe this was the start of Warner Brothers. The Babylon 5.
Remember, Babylon 5 was on the Primetime Network.
Yeah, Primetime Entertainment Network, which was a subsidiary of Warner Brothers.
In my area, we didn't have
Primetime
Network. So
they were trying to start a fifth network.
Well,
and Babylon 5 was one of their shows.
All right.
And the reason why we had so much problem with Babylon 5 getting to where it is right now is there was an executive in there that hates everything to do with that Primetime Entertainment Network. So it's not just Babylon 5 that was suffering from this neglect. It was also Time Tracks. It was also Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, and so on. This person at Warner Brothers hated. He's gone now, and that's how we got this Blu-ray, the cleaning up of these episodes, giving some love to it, getting it out there. And I'm hoping that this kicks open the doors. People still be going, is like, what are we going to do? There's nothing to watch. Well, have you ever watched this Babylon 5? Well, I heard some people. Well, no. Have you seen it? Sit down and watch it. Let's go. We got the DVDs here. We got hell, probably VHS tapes. I got right off the TV VHS tapes. Let's watch it. Or the Blu-ray. It doesn't matter. Let's get this going and hopefully let this usher in a new age of mankind in entertainment. The third age of mankind of good entertainment.
For me, Babylon 5 first was showed on my area. It was on what became Warner Brothers. We didn't have the Primetime Network. Again, every region's different. So
right, it's a syndicated network. It was still a Primetime Entertainment Network, but it was still a syndicated thing, so they could do things to it like other syndicated programs, such as here, what would eventually become Fox TV. Then they lost it, and it became UPN later on. Babylon 5 was on that network for that. So. Gotcha. Because that was the age of where you had all this experimentation with, Star Trek Next Generation is really doing well. Why don't we try doing this? And you got syndicated shows going out there. Let's try to have a syndicated network. Not a direct hardcore network, but is a loose confederacy that maybe we can turn into something. Then the WB and the UPN and all that craziness that was going on. But the good thing that came about is at least they were fighting for viewership, which meant they were making sure they were trying to get the best entertainment out there.
I think at the time there was a lot of that going on. Like I said, new stations, again, were trying to do things outside the big three.
Right.
At the time. Fox was new, Warner Brothers coming out. And like I said, Fox had their own sci-fi, Above and Beyond.
Well, Alien Nation before that.
Yeah, which was also a great show. But if that was the key to starting off new stations when they were trying to form new stations, and you got to have a sci-fi show.
Right.
I couldn't think of any station that was or network that was trying to start up that didn't have sci-fi. And give it credit for Babylon 5, they had to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't think behind closed doors, and I hate to get the politics in here, but if NBC Paramount wasn't trying to get them to not put this out, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do speculate, even though he never talks about it, that Mr. Malinsky, part of that lawsuit that he was putting out there, maybe was part of that. Like I said, you'll never know. You'll never know. Right. All right. But I do have my speculation that, when got back to him, hey, Warner Brothers, we were told by Paramount, here's $2 million, don't put this show out.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets down the grapevine, gets to him, and of course he would have got upset and do a lawsuit, which I don't blame him. Now that might not be the lawsuit that he actually put through, but you can say there's probably reasons behind that. It was more than what was said.
But everybody decided to put it aside because it would have been bad for business and everything. So it's like, okay,
that's the thing. That's another network thing. You don't want to go through with this because it might not turn out the way you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that I like the little guy trying to take on Goliath. I think he should have went after him. I personally did. I mean, I can say that happens a lot, but not Babylon 5 also getting like that, but there was the one Growing Pains made by our own little Anakin Skywalker. Took it, tried to promote it, and they stole his idea. Everything about the show. Now that show was a hit on the USA.
Oh,
Network.
You mean Royal Pains? You said
Royal Pains.
Royal Pains.
And he ended up winning a huge lawsuit. There was the reason why he wasn't enacting for a couple, almost like 5-7 years, was because he didn't need to because he won his lawsuit. I wonder what would have happened with Zelensky if he would have done it.
Well, different times, different things, but at least thankfully we got Babylon 5. And so, which of course brings to the end of this series. I'm sure we'll probably touch on stuff like The Road Home and maybe the movies, even Crusade, because there are other prime examples of well-written, well-produced, well-delivered science fiction. And hopefully, again, this will start a new renaissance, you might say, out there, and we start getting some good science fiction and getting some good writing. So before we get going here, I know that Mike stepped away for a second. So Philip McCracken, do you have anything to promote or say, or let us know what's happening in the mind of America's most famous pro?
Do you want to venture in there? It's a jungle. You might not come out alive, but okay.
If I go to Phil's mind, I will die.
The only thing on my plate that I have officially going on is Monday. I'm going to be on Phantomology and doing an episode or part 2 to Alice Cooper. So doing that Monday. As far as I know, that's still happening. And then hopefully sometime this week, even though he always promised me, but he never does it, Cash Money's supposed to do another live stream of him and me playing Fallout 76.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, he always says that.
We've done one. We've done one, but
he's like Lucy in the Football Baron.
I did, and then he would.
Yeah, I know. I know.
No, we haven't decided on.
And as far as anything coming up, I'm going to be taking a sabbatical from YouTube on my part. I mean, it won't mean I won't be hanging with Cash or if you had something coming to come onto your channel. But as far as my channel is, I am temporarily going to be putting it on mothballs. I don't have the time or the health to be able to do the things that need to be done to keep a channel going. And right now, guest appearances are fine. I'm going to be limiting that a lot more than what I've been doing. But verbal commitments, as I told Cash, anytime he wants to do a live stream, gaming stream, I'm there. If Baron, you need me for something, if I can do it, I will try to be there. Same thing for Mike. But overall, I'm cutting back, not because of personal reasons, more because honestly, the energy that I have, and the only other person I can ever say that can talk about it any more in depth than me is Cash, because I talk to him, believe it or not, and there must be banter back and forth. We and Cash hang out probably more than most of our YouTube community. Yeah, and I like to keep it that way for now because, like I said, it's hard, and unfortunately, there's some people that we're associated don't understand that, and they take it personally.
Yes.
But
Unfortunately,
I don't want anybody to take it personal. I can argue and disagree with Mike or Baron, and I hope you guys never take it personal. And we can disagree.
yes.
Yeah, we're all passionate fans. We all have a side that we're coming from.
And look, if we didn't disagree and we always agreed, we'd be the boringest four people on YouTube.
That's for sure.
But I will tell you the one thing that will stay true, even though I'm going to take a little break because unfortunately I have to. I'll be in your YouTube channels as much as I can, and I will raise double hockey sticks as much as possible, and particularly with the individual to my right here, Cash Money, because somebody has to keep them honest and true. So, and if I make comments in your YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure everybody here agrees that it's all in fun and in banter, because that's what I'm here for, to have fun with my friends and banter, And thankfully, you three individuals, if I say something comes up, or if I tell you guys, unfortunately, something I can't do, you guys never take it personal. Always acknowledge that our friendship is there no matter what. And that means a lot to me. Because believe me, if I was to play, we were playing Myth Force, and I couldn't go for an hour and a half. Cash does not get mad at me. No. And I'm pretty sure Mike and Baron, if I was playing with you guys while we're playing Myth Force, and if I couldn't go on for an hour, you guys wouldn't get mad with me. But
no, we would enjoy the time that we have with you during that time, because we know your situation, and
I appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. Believe it. Unfortunately, what does bother me, and even though I am Bill McCracken, I am still human. And I have had some individuals that get upset with me and they take it personal. It's nothing personal. I mean, when I come home from whatever I'm doing and I tell Cash in the morning I have to go and I'll send him a message, Cash knows what's going on. And if I can't do anything, I can't play, or I don't feel for watching something, believe it or not, Cash Money will stay up with me to 3, 4, 5 o'clock Eastern time, just in the Discord channel, just being there. Because with my medication, and sometimes I'm wide awake and I'm in pain and I can't go to sleep, or sometimes Cash could tell you, I'll blink. I don't want to say, how can I put it right? I doze off because of the medication. I can go out for 30 minutes. I can go out for 2 hours, or I can go out for an hour.
Yeah.
Cash does not get mad at me. And Cash doesn't say, "Oh, well, Phil, maybe if you're too sick, you shouldn't be here." No, believe it or not, Cash will say, "Don't worry about it, man. I'm here, and if I have to leave, I'll leave you a message."
Yeah, well, that's what
So,
you're supposed
yeah.
to do. It's called
And
common courtesy.
I appreciate that from Cash, from Baron, and from Mike. You three have been there for me through this last 2 years, going through this stuff and still going on, that I can actually call you three friends. Even Cash Money with that huge chin. So,
Beautiful chin.
And I do enjoy that we were able to sit here and talk about Babylon 5. We didn't always agree on everything about Babylon 5 or takes about Babylon 5. You know, I love Space Jesus. Cash Money can't stand them.
So
but
much.
Just
But watching it again, I got a different perspective. So
I'm glad you did. You need Space Jesus in your life.
We'll all
These
come
lessons.
together in a better place.
Come on, guys.
A better place.
Oh
Guys, you know the words. Come on.
Come on, Cash.
a better place. Ugh.
Oh, come on, Cash. Really, that story
No,
arc
I'm
as
just
bad as
not.
some people make it
It's not the
out to
worst
be.
thing in the world. It's really not. I'm just not a fan of. I don't think you're supposed to be. Like Baron said, you're not supposed to be a fan of Space Jesus. So.
Just remember, that's not your worst part of Babylon 5. It's Franklin's walkabout on the station.
Oh, the walkabout is so horrible.
Even the walkabout's not that long.
It's
Come on.
It's annoying, but then Franklin becomes Franklin again. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
I mean, the guy that had it worse during the whole show, it was Garibaldi.
Oh, no doubt,
Yeah.
man. He went through hell, especially with Bester, man. That is some screwed up shit going on. I don't know. Jeez.
Yeah, it's not good for him.
No.
I am sorry. I said it wrong. Mr. Garibaldi.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
How dare you?
obviously Londo went sub. I don't know. Nobody deserves a keeper. Nobody.
Nope.
That is just some hell in itself. It
you
really
do.
is. No, what?
Keep you in
Excuse
line.
me?
Keep you in line.
No, you need one, Baron. You need one. I know what's going on. No, but as I said, the other thing is also about Babylon 5 is why is it so hard for these things that obviously set up sci-fi, space, fantasy, whatever, to set up this whole thing about religion? Why? Because we don't care. It doesn't matter. That's such a stupid attitude. And you see
That's
how
a
they
cop-out
did religion.
attitude.
It is from Star Trek, from Babylon 5. There's even some religious parts of things like Lord of the Rings. I mean, look, Dune is religious too. Yes. This helps build even more about the characters. And who didn't like learning about the Klingons and their religion? Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. That's just an example.
But stupid.
You know, I'm just saying, like, it was interesting stuff with Worf. And I like that, but I want all the building that we can do in a show if it's set up a certain way. Yeah.
I mean, think about the odd couple relationship between Londo and Jakar.
Yes.
That's really an odd couple. If you could say odd couple, that is one. Especially knowing what happens in the beginning with them.
Right.
Who would say at the end they would ever be friends? You know.
Exactly. Okay, Cash, do you have anything on your plate?
Well, we're going to be playing, of course, another game on Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, it'll either be Dark Tide or we'll be back to Aliens Fire Team Elite. So, or maybe something else. And then, of course, as long as everything goes fine, I think Tuesday should be fine. Mike and I will be doing a simulcast, and we'll be playing Double Dragon. Gaiden, right? I think it's Gaiden.
Double Dragon Gaiden, Rise of the Dragons.
Rise of the Dragons.
Full title of the game.
Yeah, so that should be fun. And it's been a while since Mike and I have actually played just a game together. I think the last one was River City Girls 2.
Yep.
And no, Baron, it's not come out tonight, because I know you. I know you're ready to say it, Baron. What? Uh-huh.
We know what you're going to start saying. River City Girls, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight. Come out tonight.
Why do I have to do it when I got you to do it?
Oh boy! I just knew you were gonna do it, Baron. You knucklehead.
We gotta beat you to the punch. We gotta beat you to the punch.
If you guys are going to be doing some more of Team Epic Fail, I'm looking forward to watching and commenting. Yeah. Don't ever give up. Just keep going.
We've been doing
that's
fine,
that's the bottom of my channel.
I mean, Mike put in a lot of work into Stellar Blade, so he deserves a lot of credit. A lot of people would not do that. They just wouldn't. They would.
I support Mike in his solo effort. I think it's wonderful. I think as a solo artist, he's perfect.
A solo artist, he's perfect. Oh boy.
What are you buttering up for, Phil?
Oh, nothing.
It's too funny.
Anything else, Cash?
Yeah. So we got that, and then I'm still working on some videos. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist on these things, so they're not done yet. But right now, that's the only thing for next week. Oh, and then of course our simulcast with, I think that's still happening, Baron, with our Men's Awareness Health Month.
Yeah, that'll be Monday, I think. Yeah,
yeah.
Get that nailed down with Jace.
And then Pop Talk Light next week.
No, this is going to be Pop Talk. Gosh, you're killing me, Phil. Bastard. No, this is going to be a serious topic, man. We're going to make sure about that. It's going to be very serious. This is something a lot of people are not talking enough about. And this is one of the situations with mental health, especially for men as well as women. But since we're just focusing on men, I know, whatever, but is very important. And it needs to be talked about, not just for a month, all year long. Yep. But yeah, that's all coming up on the Fandom Hooligans right now. So.
Hooligans.
The Hooligans. Yep.
Okay, and last but not least, it is Emperor Mike Mandalari.
Yes. Well, tomorrow or Sunday, depending on when you're watching this, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, will be the Sunday edition of Pacific Forum 4 Pop Talk, where we're going to talk about an accomplishment that Dick Van Dyke has made as far as how it relates to the Emmy Awards. And there's also going to be a new Ghost in the Shell project in the works. And we're going to be talking about a few other stories tomorrow on Pop Talk. Of course, we'll also take a look at the weekend box office and see how much lower it can go. And then
Limbo,
yeah.
And then on Tuesday, as you heard, on Pacific Forum 4 and the Phantom Hooligans at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or in Cash's case, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time, or 8:30 p.m. Central Time, will be Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons. We'll see how far we can get in the game in that stream, and how many times we either stay connected or we get disconnected, because that was happening a lot when we were playing River City Girls 2.
Yeah, and that was
two
all
trailer park chicks go around the outside.
That was a really fun game when it worked.
Yeah. And then on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, for Pacific Forum 4 Pop Talk, we'll be having our monthly watch party, and this time we'll be watching the 1956 classic Forbidden Planet, starring Leslie Nielsen, long before he became Frank Drebin in Files of Police Squad and The Naked Gun. And then on Thursday, I'm going to play more of the Dark Forces Remastered. I was playing that on the Orthodox Star Wars Day back on May 25th, and I thought, you know what? Let's finish it.
I'm glad there's more Pop Talk. Original, not the diet or the light or,
Gosh.
And you're going to be a busy man, Mike. I knew Cash Money, who goes through withdrawals when there's no Pop Talk. was going to find ways of creating like your gaming pop talk.
Oh
that's coming
boy,
up,
here we go.
Okay.
This
I'm-
guy.
Well, with that, I do want to thank Low Stick Linux Laptop for popping into the chat. Everyone's favorite penguin, besides Punk Waddle. Of course, our troll was in the chat as well.
I
And
smashed
the old
the
man
like.
joined us. Yeah, he smashed a like. Yeah, very kind of you. And of course, the old man was out there. Of course, I know that there probably were some lurkers across different platforms that this should be airing on. I thank everyone who has joined us tonight, this afternoon, this morning, depends on where you are in the time zone. And if you're watching on the flip side, on a rerun. So with that, of course, with my esteemed co-hosts on here, I do really want to thank you so much. This journey of Babylon 5 has come to an end, but it doesn't mean that it's totally over. Everyone have a great night, great day, anything. Bye.
I was told there was cookies going to be given out.